Hey guys, welcome. That time again. Another NBA weekly recap. The second week of the playoffs now. It's your boy Ren City, host of Sports and Shorts of Sorts. Doing these NBA recaps all year, rolling them into the playoffs, and I thought, let's keep rolling them, right? I love doing this stuff. We've had good drama. We've got some potential Hall of Famers. Well, for sure, Hall of Famers sent home. Wild first round. Let's start in the East like we always do on this show, starting with the Miami Heat Boston Celtics series. We knew it'd be a struggle for the Heat without Jimmy Butler in this series. Yet after last week's episode, this series was tied at 1 going back to Miami. That's where the real Boston Celtics showed up. The ones we've seen all season. The ones that look pissed off to have dropped the game at home. Their defense was better, and that made a Miami Heat that was struggling to score even tougher to score. It was rough out there. Bam Adebayo, he's been the one consistent point for the Heat here, but it was all Celtics. 20-point road win. They took it 2-1. Going into game 4, you had a similar kind of vibe. Boston defense great. Miami offense not so much. 14-point Celtics win. Like I said, no Jimmy buckets, missing Terry Rozier. That's big too. But Derek White, man, did he go bananas for the Celtics? The former Spur just lit it up. 38 points, 8 three-pointers. Tatum only needed 20 points. Jaylen Brown 17. When your main guys just need to do that, like, wow, what a difference what a difference, right? The only troubling news in that game was a kind of a rough scene for Kristaps Porzingis. He was kind of moving gingerly on the floor. Then all of a sudden he pulled up. He looked like he went to accelerate, and it was like, nope, hand up, pointed to the bench, right to the locker room. They're saying it's a calf injury, not an Achilles, so that's good. But we know how calf injuries go. We'll get to more on one in the Milwaukee Bucks series, but rough look for Porzingis. They take the win 3-1, go back to Boston looking to wrap it up. Like I said, we knew there'd be no Porzingis, but the Celtics still felt pretty confident that they'd close it out in front of their home fans, and that's exactly what they did. They came out, took the game by the scruff, outscoring the Heat 41-23 in the first quarter, and whatever minor breeze was in the sails of the Heat was taken out. It was ugly. Jaylen Brown, Derek White, each dropping 25. Tatum only needed 16 points on 9 shots. Sam Hauser 17 off the bench with 5 threes. Another shout out to Bam Adebayo. He was fighting for the Heat, but he did not get a lot of help. Like I said, the Celtics came in with an intensity to start the game that the Heat just could not match. I hate injuries in sports. You've heard me bitch about it on this podcast, the Sports and Shorts of Sorts regular podcast. I hate injuries, and having no Jimmy Bucket in this series, it really made a huge difference. Celtics won Game 5 by 34 points to close the series out. It's already been said Kristaps Porzingis will miss the entirety of the second round. So the Celtics will be without the services of the big Latvian for the next matchup, which is still yet to be determined. I'll jump to that series next, but that is a massive injuries. But if the Celtics can get through the second round, which I'm sure they are capable of, and if KP can return later in the playoffs, I still believe this is an NBA championship team. Like I said, Celtics take that series 4-1. Number 4, number 5 matchups, always a good one. And in the East, the Orlando Magic and Cleveland Cavaliers, they've been duking it out. 30 style boxing duking here. They've had home cooking has been the difference in every meal. Last episode of the podcast, Magic won their first home game to cut the Cavs series lead to 2-1. Game 4 went down in Orlando as well, and it was a competitive first half. But in the third quarter, the Magic dominated both sides of the ball, outscoring the Cavs 37-10 in the third quarter alone. They cranked their good defense up another few notches, and the Cavaliers had no answer. From there, Franz Wagner carried the load. Paulo Banchero struggled, 9 points. Not like the All Star to do. I know he's young and his career is very brief, but that was very rare to see him go 9 points and have the Magic win. But the German swingman, he really stood it up. 34 points and 13 boards for Franz Wagner. Jonathan Isaac, more known for his defensive prowess, threw in 14 points with 4 threes off the bench. A tight game that kind of got out of control with the Magic turning it up. The Cavaliers were in it, like I said, until they lacked that energy coming out for the second half. The Cavs had 4 guys in double figures, but other than Jared Allen, no one really shot the ball well. Big win for Orlando that tied the series up and sent it back to Ohio, tied up at 2. And wow, what a doozy we'd get for game 5. The home team, like I said, has won every game in this series, and the Cavs were looking to bounce back from that disappointing game 4. They definitely came in with more intensity, and you knew they would with JB Bickerstaff coaching. He's got this team looking great. The Magic would keep it close, and we had a hell of a game. The Magic, number one overall pick, Paulo Banchero, he stepped it up, like I said, after that terrible 9-point game. He finished with 39 points and 8 rebounds, really shouldering the load for a Magic team that otherwise struggled to score. Wagner followed up that 34-point night with a 14-point night on 3 of 11 shooting. And the Cavaliers, they were doing it with a team effort. Darius Garland lighting it up in the first half. He had 28 for the Cavs. Cavs were playing without Jared Allen. He's been battling a rib injury. And Evan Mobley, he played phenomenal. He was finishing near the hoop, but more importantly, his defense. People have said that he can be one of the best defenders in the NBA, and he looked like it. Living up to that hype, that led to him getting drafted 3rd overall in the 2021 draft. 14 points, 13 boards, 4 dimes, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. But the most important block of the game was with the Cavs up late. Franz Wagner went to the hoop and tried to sneak up a shot, but he couldn't sneak fast enough. Evan Mobley, full length on display, doing his best MJ in Space Jam, rejecting it off the backboard, sealing the win for the Cavs. Mobley's defense down the crunch, wow, it really sealed it on the one side of the ball. But it was the playoff test of Donovan Mitchell on the offensive side, hitting clutch shots for the Cavs. He came up big in the 4th, which he did. Closing time, he did it, like the Semisonic song. Also, Max Strus, Marcus Morris showed the importance of playoff vets. They did what they needed to do to help the Cavs seal the win. So now, big game in Orlando tonight. Magic are looking to keep the trend of winning at home going to try to extend this to 7 and send it back to Cleveland. Well, the Cavs can taste blood. They're looking to end the series now. It's still uncertain whether Jared Allen will play. Like I said, he missed the last game there with that rib injury. Rib injuries are tough, you kind of feel that with everything you do. We'll see if they can go without him in this one. And I see the Cavs closing this one out and advancing to the next round to take on the Celtics like I predicted before the playoffs. But that'll be a damn good series if that's what we get. But don't sleep on Orlando. Like I said, the home team's been cooking. They could win this and send it back to Cleveland. And if they do, Game 7 will be played Sunday, May 5th. But Ren City here is thinking Cleveland closes it out tonight. The Pacers and Bucks. Indiana hosted Milwaukee with the series all tied up at 1. And the Bucks still playing without Giannis Antetokounmpo, who was declared out for the series before the playoffs. But the Pacers came out and fired in front of the raucous home crowd. The Bucks would work their way back into the game, making it really tight down the wire. And man, Chris Middleton, massive for the Bucks. Clutch shot after clutch shot, including a 3-pointer he banked in with 1.4 seconds left in the game to force overtime. And he was massive for the Bucks. 42 points, 10 boards, 5 dimes. A heroic effort for a guy who on the last podcast I was saying he might not have even play in that game. He was questionable coming in. Damian Lillard scored 28. Bobby Portis had a big double-double, 17 and 18. But the Pacers flexing that depth. It really thrived. All starters hitting double figures. Miles Turner, 29 points, 9 boards. Obi Toppin, 15 off the bench. And OT would be the Pacers' young all-star that stood up. Tyrese Halliburton, he struggled with the shot all night, but man, he was dishing, handing out 16 dimes. And in OT, he took the ball and he put it on his back, completing a 3-point play the old-fashioned way, taking some contact, hitting the tough floater, giving the Pacers the huge 3-point win at home, and giving them the 2-1 series lead. Game 4 was back in Indiana still, and the Bucks were coming in even more shorthanded. We knew Giannis was out. Now Damian Lillard was out, missing the game with an Achilles injury. And things kind of got worse for the Bucks when Bobby Portis Jr. and Canadian Andrew Nembhard from the Pacers got into it, exchanging words. Portis threw a punch, something Nikola Mirotic might remember. But you don't throw a punch in the NBA, you know that's an ejection, and he was ejected. But despite those absences, the Bucks were fighting neck and neck with the Pacers, and in the second half, the Pacers really started to distance themselves, really doing it from outside. Their three-point shooting crazy, 22 three-pointers, setting a new playoff franchise record. 22 of 43 from the arc, 51%. It's hard to beat a team when they're shooting over 50% from the three-point range without your two stars. But the Pacers doing it with depth again. Halliburton, 24. Turner leading the way with 29 points, 9 boards, 7 from 9 from downtown. The Bucks did have three different players go above 20. Lopez with 27 points, 9 boards. Middleton limping through the game at 25, 10, and 5. Pat Bev had a good shooting night, 20 points. A hard-fought effort, but it was just not enough as the Pacers took a 3-1 stranglehold on the lead, sending it back to Milwaukee with the Pacers with a chance to close it out. And again, the Bucks would have no Dame Dolla or Giannis, obviously, but well, with their backs against the wall, these Bucks did not get caught in the headlights. After getting outscored 12 in the first quarter, they turned it around from that point forward, putting pressure on both sides of the ball, getting 29-point double-doubles from both Bobby Portis Jr. and Chris Middleton. You cannot give enough credit to what Chris Middleton's been doing in this series. He's been carrying it all on his bum ankle here, and he's been really stepping up, But all the Bucks starters scored in double figures. Pat Bev, Bobby Portis Jr., both plus 30 and plus minus. The Pacers, once they were down in this one, they could never really get it back. So kudos to the Bucks. Like I said, missing their two top scorers, forcing a game 6 back in Indiana. And as they got back to Indiana, you knew the bench would play better for the Pacers, and they really exceeded expectations. They started to look like a tilted pool table the way things were going in their favor. Indiana just slowly started to beat down on the Bucks. Miles Turner had a quiet game. He's had a solid games leading up to this. But the depth of the Pacers. Obi Toppin, 21 points, 8 boards off the bench. TJ McConnell, 20 points, 9 dimes off the bench. Like, two guys going for 20 off the bench, that's huge. Halliburton, 17 point, 10 assist night. Siakam, 19. Great effort, It really put them above the Bucks. Dame Dollar returned for this one. He had 28, and Lopez and Portis each chipped in 20, but this was all Pacers. They held home court, knocked the Milwaukee Bucks out of the playoffs. The Pacers take the first round series 4-2, advance to the second round of the NBA playoffs for the first time since 2014. Excitement for the Pacers, and you love to see it. I hyped them up a bit before this season. I picked them to win this series in 6, so no Storen City at it again here, but I'm feeling pretty good about that prediction. And at the beginning of the season, this is before any of the changes happened, I thought the Bucks would make the finals and win the championship. With the acquisition of Dame leading in and Adrian Griffin getting a chance to run the team. But yeah, shit changed like that, Injuries, Griffin getting fired, replaced by the Doc, who did not fill his prescriptions on time, and it was a season of turmoil that ends in disappointment. Injuries, they're rough, and obviously without Giannis Antetokounmpo, they're not the same team, and calf injuries are tricky. Like, he picked that up near the end of the regular season against Boston. We didn't see him on the court again for the rest of the year. Just a brutal way for them to win, but kudos to Indiana. I called them last year's Sacramento Kings. But they've surpassed that. The Kings didn't make it out of the first round, so good on them. Rick Carlisle, hell of a job. That takes us to the wildest series in the East, the Wild Wild East. The Knicks were playing against the Sixers here, and they were playing in the second game in Philly, looking to increase the lead in the series. They'd be missing Mitchell Robinson, who had hurt his ankle in the game prior, and it was announced Bogdan Bogdanovic, he'd be missing the remainder of the playoffs with not one, but 2 season-ending surgeries to his foot and his wrist. But just like every other game in this series, it was a good one. Philly jumped on the Knicks early, trying to tie the series up. The home crowd getting into it as the Sixers led after the first quarter. The Knicks would fight back, though, and we'd have a close game going into halftime. The battle would continue in the second half. Jalen Brunson putting the Big Apple on his back like he's done the entire time he's been there, scoring a career-high 47 points while dishing out 10 dimes. The Sixers battled back, and it was close, but Brunson and the Knicks were just too much down the stretch, so much so that the Philly crowd sounded like there was some New Yorkers there with some Brunson MVP chants. Embiid limped through the game, still at 27 points, 10 boards, 6 dimes. Maxey had 23, and Oubre Jr. had 19. Another disappointing night for Tobias Harris as he had 10 points on 10 shots. The Knicks crowd was bumping as their team was on the verge of advancing to the next round, leading 3-1 in the series coming in. And the Sixers weren't going to go down easy, though. They came out to a hot start, catching the Knicks off guard, but the Knicks responded in a huge way, outscoring the Sixers 32-17 in the second quarter. And in the second half, just like we've had all series, we'd go back and forth here. Brunson making shots. Looked like the Knicks were moving up. They had the game in their hands, but then Tyrese Maxey pulled out his Reggie Miller mask, making huge shots down the clutch to claw the Sixers back into the game. An outrageous 4-point play with Mitchell Robinson coming at him, almost reminiscent of Larry Johnson back in the day. And he fouled Maxey on the 3-point shot. He nailed the shot, nailed the free throw. Then Maxey would tie the game up with a massive 3 from way downtown. 7 points in 25 seconds of regulation, the force overtime. Maxey was feeling it, 46 points, 9 dimes, 5 boards, and in OT, Sixers would ride that momentum, stealing the game in Madison Square Garden and sending this back to Philly for Game 6. Embiid had a triple-double for the Sixers, but he only had 19 points, which is unlike him, but I'm telling you, 16 boards, 10 dimes, throwing 4 blocks, but maybe the real big difference in this one was the contribution from Tobias Harris. 19 points and 8 boards in the win. I mentioned he had 10 points in the loss prior, so it seems he's a very important piece. We'll get to more on him in a bit. Jalen Brunson again went for 40, but the Knicks were lacking that killer instinct in the last seconds of the game. Cinder, Glacius. If you know Killer Instinct, you know those names. But anyway, Game 6 in Philadelphia was buzzing, and there was Philly outrage after the last game at home where you could hear Knicks fans cheering. No one liked that, so they were selling strictly Philly people in this one. So they were filling it up, and the crowd was letting them know. But they surprised them coming out 36-22 in the quarter. The Knicks came out, surprised the Sixers with that start, and it looked like trouble. And then Joel Embiid would have to leave the game briefly. But with him out of the lineup, they had a smaller lineup, kicked up the tempo, and the Knicks got back into the game. Embiid would return to the game, and they'd keep rocking it for the Sixers, leading to another back-and-forth game throughout the second half. Embiid was huge, bouncing back from the game prior. 39 points, 13 boards for the Sixers, which was good because Maxey had a bad shooting night and only finished with 17. Oubre Jr. had 17, Batum at 16. But wow, how about Buddy Hield off the bench? He was struggling coming into this game, but he'd make 6 and 9 for three-point range, keeping the Sixers right in it. But who else? Who else for the Knicks? Jalen Brunson, 41 points, 12 dimes, third straight 40-point game in the postseason. Insane. That puts him right up there with Bernard King, and you know Bernard King. If you don't, he's a legend. But it wasn't just all Brunson. You had all the Knicks starters hitting double figures. Hartenstein, it was killing me. They're Hartensteining him out there. But Hartenstein was a beast on the offensive boards. OG made huge plays. Massive dunk on Embiid. It was nasty. But how about those Villanova boys playing in Philadelphia? We know about Brunson, but Dante DiVincenzo, 23 points. Josh Hart, 16 points, 14 boards with 6 on the offensive end. For a guard, remember, like I said, he's the best rebounding guard in the league. 7 dimes as well. And he made the biggest play of the night. Everyone was concentrating on Jalen Brunson late, as they should. And this led to Josh Hart being wide open. He faked the pass around the arc, hesitated, and everyone's like, oh my God, is he going to shoot it? It's one of that, don't shoot. Oh, good, you made it. Because that was the defensive strategy. You don't want Brunson taking that shot. You're going to live or die with Hart taking that. And they're dying with it. Left wide open by design. He cashed it, icing the game, clinching the win and the series for the Knickerbockers. Huge 118-115 win, winning in Philly, winning the series 4-2. We all knew how good of a series this would be coming in. Coming into the playoffs, I said this is the one to watch in the East. You could have not had a closer game, 6-game series. The Knicks won the series with a +1 point differential. Like a few bounces in another direction, and maybe the Sixers are going on. But you can't play the what-if game. The Knicks go to the second round, back-to-back seasons, and many of the New York faithful already calling for a Jalen Brunson statue, setting up one hell of a second-round series. Indiana Pacers, New York Knicks, bringing me back to my flashbacks of a young Ren City pup watching NBA on 1990s television, Reggie Miller going up against Patrick Ewing, and this should be a dandy, and another one I called correctly in my playoff preview podcast. I picked the Knicks to meet the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, so I'm going to stick with that. I have the Knicks winning in 5, but don't count these Pacers out. When they're cooking, they're cooking. Game 1 of the conference semifinals tips off Monday, May 6th, with the Knicks hosting the Pacers in Madison Square Garden. And for the Sixers, man, another year, another disappointment. Despite new head coach Nick Nurse coming in, you thought things would change, but not so much. And you can't really blame Embiid for his injuries, Like, he did everything he could. He was hurting, and he was playing through it. Maxey showed out. Most improved player of the year, showed why. He did struggle in Game 6, but you can't hate on him. If we have to throw around hate, I don't want to be the bearer of hates, but man, Tobias Harris. I mentioned he had 10 points in the loss. He had 19 in the win. How would he show up in this elimination game? Well, he didn't. In 29 minutes of play, Tobias Harris went 0 for 2 from the field. Big old goose egg on the box score. He had 4 boards and 3 dimes, but that's it. 29 minutes of play. According to StatMuse, Tobias Harris is the highest salary for a player to ever go scoreless in a playoff game. $39.3 million a year to score 0 in Game 6 of a playoff game. That's rough. Not very good for Tobias Harris. The Knicks take that series 4-2. Oof. Excuse me. We go to the Western Conference. We'll start with the Phoenix Suns and Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves were coming into the desert with a 2-series lead after last episode, after they won both games at home. And it was a back and forth first half with the Suns looking better than they did in Minnesota. But then the second half came, and then the king of swagger, Anthony Edwards, showed why he is one of the faces of the NBA, if not the face of the NBA going forward. Game high 36 points, 9 boards while dishing out 5 dimes. His relentlessness going to the hoop while nailing the jumpers in the defenders' faces while letting them know about it the entire time. Like many other NBA fans around the world, how can you not like Anthony Edwards? He's the man. I'm sure the Phoenix Suns aren't feeling the same way, but this guy was cooking them in their own house. And the big three actually had a good scoring line coming from all of them. Bradley Beal was probably his best game in the series, 28 points. Durant had 25, Booker 23. But the rest of the team combined for 33 points. That's just not going to cut it against this tough Timberwolves team. I said it once leading into the series, and I say it again. The absence of Grayson Allen for the Suns is huge. I said he'd be the most important person in this series, and I felt crazy saying that, but it's really showing fruition here. But that tough defense combined with 6 guys scoring in double figures deflated the Suns, and they dropped 0-3 in the series. And you know what's these studs on the Suns roster? They weren't going to just falter in Game 4. They're going to put up some kind of fight. And they did. Devin Booker, 49 points in an elimination game. Durant, 33. They did everything to try to extend this series. But Anthony Edwards, the guy's a killer. He was in attack mode. He was also feeling it from behind the arc, though, hitting some three-pointers. He finished with a team-high 40 points. Karl Anthony Towns played the perfect Robin, the Edwards Batman, scoring 28 points. Edwards was clutch down the stretch. Like I said, chatting shit to his idol KD the whole time. Edwards dealt death blow after death blow while dissing them the whole time. In the dying seconds, it looked like Booker was wanting to get a 50 burger, and Edwards is like, get out of here with that 50 shit. Kind of intensity at the end of a game that you just love to see out of your star player. Everyone feeds off that. Let me remind you, he's 22 years old, right? Crazy. Timberwolves swept the Phoenix Suns in 4. The first time a Timberwolves team has ever swept anybody in the playoffs. It's the first time they won a playoff series since 2004. Did not see this coming. During the win, the Wolves sustained a big injury. Not to the player, though, but Coach of the Year finalist Chris Finch. Near the end of the game, he was taken out near the sidelines. He was helped out off the floor, but I guess he suffered a torn patella tendon in his right knee. So that's a tough one to recover from. Hopefully he's okay. But that outcome of that series was really the only blemish on my NBA playoff predictions. I feel like an idiot saying that I went with Phoenix to win this. They own the regular season matchup. They have legit scorers who have been to the NBA Finals, and one, Kevin Durant, who's won some rings, but I did not expect Bradley Beal to only go for 9 points in a playoff elimination game. I mean, it's no Tobias Harris, but Beal made $46 million last year, and he's expected to make $50 next year, and he's giving you 9 points in an elimination game. This is crazy shit. The Suns have big money invested in this team, in this big three that look like a big 2.25 at times. And Suns' new owner, Matt Ishibia, he downplayed the disappointment of getting swept in the first round, saying, ask the other 29 GMs. 26 of them would trade their whole team for our whole team and our draft picks and everything else. The house is not on fire. We're in great position. It's not hard to fix. It's not like, hey, we don't have enough talent to win a championship. So if you're a Suns fan, you got to like the optimism, but realism here. There's rumors going around that KD did not like his role with Beal and Booker. There's talks he might want out. There's talk Booker is wanted badly in New York. I mean, I don't know why New York's killing it right now, but we'll see what happens this offseason. But wow, 4-0 series sweep for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Wow, crazy. I mean, they're in the number 3 seed on against the number 6. It should happen, but the West was so tight, I did not see that coming, honestly. Yeah, we'll go to the Lakers and Denver Nuggets here, with the Timberwolves already punching their ticket to the second round via a broom sweep. We were wondering if the Nuggets would follow suit. I asked it in last week's episode, will the Lakers get swept again by the Nuggets? Well, Game 4 was back in LA with the Nuggets looking to end the series. And the Lakers, despite being down 0-3, they were closer in this series than you'd think. This is a very close series. And they weren't going to go down without a fight. Much like every other game in this series, the Lakers had a double-digit lead in the first half. And LeBron James was huge. It's still insane to me how long he's been playing. Like I said, I was in high school when he was drafted to the NBA. It's crazy to me. He put up 30 points, 5 boards, 4 dimes in the game. Anthony Davis, monstrous, 25 points, 23 rebounds, 6 dimes, 21 points apiece by D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves. A fantastic performance that was a gut punch the Nuggets could never really recover from. Jokic put up his usually crazy stat line, 33 points, 14 boards, 14 dimes. Another playoff triple-double on his list. Michael Porter Jr., 27 points, 11 boards. Jamal Murray struggled from the field. He looked like he was dealing with some injury. He only had 22 points. Aaron Gordon didn't really do much offensively. A very impressive Lakers win. They make it 3-1 in the series, avoid a sweep, and send it back to Denver. In Game 4, we knew it was going to be a tightly contested game that would go down to a wire. That's just what happens if LeBron James is against the wall in an elimination game. You know he's going to step up. We were wondering how the altitude would affect the Lakers, and times during the game it looked like it did bother them, but what can we say about LeBron James, man? 30 points, 11 assists, 4 rebounds, and 4 steals. Did I mention he's 39 years old in his 21st season of the NBA? This just doesn't happen. So appreciate what you are seeing, people. The other starters all hit double figures, but nothing over 20 points, while the Nuggets had Jokic go for 25 points, 20 boards, 9 dimes. Porter Jr. had 26 points, but Canadian Jamal Murray, he'd have the biggest impact of the game. It wasn't even sure if he'd be playing in this game. The training staff considered sitting him with calf rest. As I've mentioned in different parts of this episode, we know the seriousness of a calf injury. But Murray said, yo, trust me, let me play. And he went out 32 points, the biggest two, coming with 3.seconds left in the game. He'd hit a floater that he's hit hundreds of times before, knocking it in. The Lakers had no timeout. They'd force a Taurean Prince chuck from half court that would miss, and boom, Nuggets going to the second round. The second game winner of the series for Jamal Murray, and the defending champions are looking to try to run it back. I picked the Nuggets to win this series, and it was nothing against the Lakers. It's just they seem to struggle against the Nuggets, obviously, with these two rosters, and they fought them as good as anyone in the league could. I don't know. The Nuggets are really fucking good, and maybe in another matchup, the Lakers would advance, but a tough ending to their season with more question marks in the air than blocks in a Mario game. Do they move on from Darvin Ham? It seems like people are wanting to do that. Does D'Angelo get scapegoated again and sent elsewhere? Did the Lakers try and bring Bronny James in to keep LeBron around? It's crazy, and La La Land has all the rumors. It's a tough end to a season where in the preseason, I thought the Lakers could maybe get to the NBA Finals this year. It's the earliest playoff exit ever in LeBron's illustrious career, and it's back to the drawing board for the Lakers. So this sets up a second-round series between two Northwest rivals. You have the Nuggets, the Timberwolves. This should be something else. The Wolves have plenty of bigs to throw at Jokic, including potential Defensive Player of the Year winner Rudy Gobert. I was going with him most of the season, but by the end, I'm like, give it to Rudy. Give Wemby, sorry. Oh, blasphemy. Give Wemby the Defensive Player of the Year and the Rookie of the Year. Give him it all. But anyway, he's a good defender, Rudy Gobert, and he's going to, I know Jokic has kind of owned him in the past, but having him, Naz Reid, Karl Anthony Towns, these are just literal big bodies to throw at him. I'm sure Jokic is going to overcover it, and you're going to have the battle of the border here with American guard Anthony Edwards taking on Canadian guard Jamal Murray, two dudes that definitely don't lack confidence. A little bit of a rivalry going with them. I know Murray wasn't on the Canadian team this summer that beat Anthony Edwards and Team USA, but it should be a dandy. I mentioned how so bad I was picking the Suns to beat the Timberwolves in the first round, but I did have the Nuggets advancing to the Western Conference Finals, so I'm going to go with that. I'm going to have the Nuggets beating the T-Wolves in 6 games. It should be a hell of a series, though. Grab your popcorn. It's going to be good. Early Saturday, we're jumping into this right away. Tomorrow, Saturday, Game 1, tipping off in Denver. We'll see how the Timberwolves adjust to the altitude. I know Wolves can live in the mountains sometimes, so I think they could be okay. That'll bring us to the New Orleans Pelicans and Oklahoma City Thunder. After the recording of last week's episode, the Thunder had won both games at home, and they were looking to go into the Bayou and try to keep that going while the Pelicans were trying to defend their home court. But Maybe they were drinking a bit on Bourbon Street before because they did not look very good against the Thunder. The Thunder won every quarter of the game, the scoring being spread out. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander with 24, Josh Giddey and J-Dub each 21. Another Canadian, Lou Dort, scoring 12. It was an easy 21-point win by the Thunder. The Pelicans have been playing without Zion Williamson. That was announced before the playoff series started. Brandon Ingram, he led the team in scoring with 19, but like I said, the Pelicans were never really in this game. Lackluster execution on both sides of the ball, and it was ugly. Charles Barkley was disgusted by this performance, and on TNT, he was saying they don't even deserve to go to the Cancun. He said, send their ass to Galveston, Texas. Not, not even on a plane, on a bunch. That sad ass beach there in Galveston, Texas. It was fucking pretty funny. And I guess this prompted Beyonce's mom, Tina Knowles, to chime in and defend her hometown beach, which Barkley apologized for. But man, those NBA on TNT guys, they're the best in the game. But how would these Pelicans respond to that kind of criticism and, going down 0-3 in an elimination game at home? They did show some heart for about 3.5 quarters, or 3 quarters. Let's not give them too much credit. CJ McCollum, 20 points. Former Raptor Giannis Valanciunas, 19 points, 13 boards. But Ingram, yikes. What is with some of these stars in elimination games? 8 points, 2 for 14 from the field. This team fell apart. The Thunder took over and closed this game out, closed out the series, sending the Oklahoma City Thunder to the second round of the NBA playoffs for the first time since 2016. In doing so, becoming the youngest team to ever win a playoff series at the average age of 24 years old. All 5 Thunder starters reached double figures in the series clinching game. SGA and J-Dub leading the way with 24 points. And Thunder also got some big news when their 39-year-old head coach was awarded Coach of the Year, as predicted on last week's episode. Mark Daigneault taking home the trophy. So good on him. I said it was a tough battle throughout the year, and whoever won the Western Conference, that coach would win the award, and that kind of worked out. So good on him. But Minnesota's Chris Finch would have been a good one as well. So regardless, well done by the coach there, and congrats to him. So who are the Thunder going to play in the next round? Well, that is the lone series in the Western Conference that's left and hasn't been decided yet, as of recording anyway. And that series is the Dallas Mavericks and Los Angeles Clippers. The last series to go, like I said, the Mavericks hosted the Clippers in Game 3 with the series tied at 1 after the team split the wins in LA. The Clippers started off well. They got Kawhi Leonard back in the lineup while the Mavericks struggled in that first quarter. The home crowd seemed to wake the Mavs up, and they never looked back from there, outscoring the Clippers 36-18 in the second quarter. And the second half was pretty even, but the Mavericks just stayed out of reach, keeping the Clippers at bay. Doncic almost had a triple-double, 22 points, 10 boards, 9 dimes. Kyrie had 21. 3 other Mavs hit double figures, and James Harden and Zubats played well for the Clippers, but Kawhi struggled. He physically didn't look right, and he didn't play well. Paul George, 7 points, 3-11 shooting. Norman Powell was the only bright spot, really, 21 off the bench, making them look competitive. It wasn't the prettiest game of ball, but it was a win for Dallas, as they took the 2-1 lead going in the Game 4, which was again in Dallas, but this time Kawhi Leonard would not play, that knee inflammation flaring up, which freed Paul George up a bit. He only scored 7, like I said, in Game 3, but he'd follow up with 33 points on 11 and 19 shooting, grabbing 6 boards, 8 dimes, and thieving 4 times. That's the Paul George we expect to see. And James Harden, 33 points, 7 dimes, 6 boards, another throwback performance. Zubat, man, and then Powell off the bench. They each hit double figures. That looks like the Clippers that we've seen all year. Kyrie Irving, like I said, the guy's poetry on the basketball court. He had 40 pretty points with 7 boards and 5 dimes, putting the Mavs on his back. Luka called himself out, saying he needs to do more to help Kyrie, even though he had a triple-double, 29 points, 10 boards, and 10 dimes. But other than those dudes, the other Mavericks didn't show up. The Clippers took the win in Dallas and sent it back to LA, all tied up at 2. Game 5 back in LA, like I said, the Mavericks looked ready to go. And after another close first quarter, the Mavs took over from there, winning the second quarter by 9, winning the third quarter by 10. The fourth, you can see the lead just getting big here. Like I said, Luka publicly criticizing himself, coming out to follow up with 35 points, 10 dimes, and 7 boards, only shooting 14 from 26 from the field. Very efficient night. 5 other Mavs hit the double figures mark, and it's kind of what you expect out of a home team in the playoffs, the bench to really step up there, but they look great on the road. That intensity carried them throughout the game, cruising to an easy 30-point win. The Clippers just didn't show up. Paul George and Zubats led the team with 15. James Harden, disappearing act, 7.7 dimes, shooting 2 for 12 from the field, and ugly game in front of their home fans. And now, like I said, Clippers play Dallas tonight in the Big D. Clippers looking to force a game 7, and they'll be doing it without Kawhi Leonard, who's still got that knee inflammation. So which Clippers stepping up tonight? Who will be the road hero? Is it Paul George, James Harden, maybe Powell or Westbrook off the bench? Maybe this is the Terrence Mann game. I don't know, but I'm thinking it's the Dallas bench that will respond at home. Like I said, they played very lackluster in their last game, so look at those trade deadline acquisitions. Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington. They got to step up here and help them punch this ticket to the next round. They don't want to go back to LA. I'm expecting huge nights out of Luka, huge night out of Kyrie Irving. I'm saying this series ends tonight, setting up a wild Oklahoma City Dallas Mavericks game round, just as I predicted before the series. However, if I do predict this game wrong and the Clippers win and force a game 7, that will go down Sunday evening in LA with it all on the line. And I have the Mavericks facing the Nuggets in the Western Conference final. So whether the Clippers win tonight or the Mavs win tonight, I have the Mavericks winning this series and going on. So there you have it. The week of NBA hoops. Lots of players sent on vacations, whether it's Cancun or whether it's Galveston, Texas, while other teams try to keep calm and carry on, striving for that NBA championship. Like I said, I don't want to toot my own horn, beep, beep, but a lot of my picks are looking pretty good right now. We'll look back on my playoff prediction podcast episode to confirm. It's not bad. I picked Celtics in 5. They won in 5. I picked Cavs to win in 6, possibly 7. I mean, that's a little open. That still has potential. The Cavs can win it in 6 tonight. Like I gloated earlier, I picked the Pacers in 6. Nailed it. Picked the Knicks to beat the Sixers, but I thought they'd do it in 7. They did it in 6. So, right team, not enough game. I really gave the Pelicans too much credit before their series with the Thunder. I thought the young Thunder might struggle a bit in the playoffs and it'd go the distance, go 7. Not a 4-game sweep for the Thunder. Again, right team, wrong amount of games. And I mentioned it earlier. I picked the Mavericks to win. I picked them to win in 6 games. If they win tonight, that potential's still there. But my biggest blemish on my first round picks, yikes, I still am surprised by this. I picked the Suns to beat the Wolves in 6, and the Wolves made fools of me, sweeping the Suns in 4. I did not see that coming. The only series I picked just dead wrong, as Big E would say. And I did pick the Nuggets to beat the Lakers in 5 games. I thought the Lakers would get one, and they did there, so good on them. And looking back, I really should have probably bet something on some of those games. But damn it, we'll see what happens going forward. Like I said, the Cavs can clinch their series tonight in Orlando. If they don't, and Orlando win, Game 7 will be played Sunday. The Mavericks can clinch their series at home, like I said, tonight against the Clippers. But if they pull it off, the Clippers, they'll be playing on Sunday in Game 7. Like the Magic Cavs. But Game 1 of the Timberwolves and Nuggets, like I said, will be played Saturday. Questions on whether Chris Finch will return to the lineup. Timberwolves are doing their damnedest to try to make it safe for Chris Finch to return to the bench with that brutal injury he picked up. And Game 1 of the Pacers and Knicks will go down Monday, so lots of good stuff coming in the playoffs here, but we do have some quick other playoff, non-playoff related news. Former number 1 overall pick, 6-time All-Star Blake Griffin calling it a career. Former Rookie of the Year has had a great career, and I can already hear the debates on whether is this guy Hall of Fame worthy or not. Immediate reaction, quick glance over the career. I think it's borderline, but I think he should get in. You can't forget how dominant he was in Oklahoma. He didn't win a championship, but his game, I think he's got to make it. In coaching news, Canadian men's basketball coach Jordy Fernandez has accepted the head coaching gig to coach the Brooklyn Nets. He's been an assistant coach in Sacramento. It said he'll continue to coach the Canadian national team, and it didn't take him long to grab a new assistant coach. The recently fired Michigan Wolverines head coach Juwan Howard is joining his staff, so that'll be interesting to see him back in the NBA after he was with the Heat before joining his alma mater in Michigan. Be cool to see him back in the lead. And I know this isn't NBA related, it's WNBA related, but Candace Parker, we got to give her flowers. 3-time WNBA champion, 2-time NCAA champion. She's called it a career, retiring as one of the best to play the game. She helped set the groundwork for players like Caitlin Clark to shine today, so give your flowers to Candace. one of the best to play. There you have it. Another weekly recap in the books. Big games tonight. First round wraps up tonight, potentially. Cavs and Mavs looking to close their series. If they do so, it will be the third time since 2011 that no first round series went to a game 7. So we'll see. But you have some good second rounds starting up. Love it. Can't wait. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed these great playoff games we're getting. You can also find my other podcast, Sports and Shorts of Sorts, where Ren City will talk to you about NFL, some footy, MLB, everything in between. And we'll end it with a little short from my own life. Last one got a little wild. But hey, thanks for coming out. Take care. Ren City out.